check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Have you ever wondered why your love life is as dry as a desert? Maybe you're scratching your head, wondering why your charms aren't working? Perhaps you're the Casanova of your dreams, but in reality, you're more like Smeagol from Lord of the Rings. Today, we're diving into the top reasons why girls might not be falling head over heels for you. So if you've ever found yourself alone on a Friday night asking, "Why don't girls like me?" Well, worry not, we have some answers for you. First things first, guys, hygiene is not an option, it's a requirement. We're not talking about a spritz of cologne over last week's laundry, we're talking soap and water. Let's face it, no one wants to cuddle up to a guy who smells like he's been wrestling a family of skunks. Believe it or not, that funky odor you're ignoring is like kryptonite to girls. They have a superhuman sense of smell, and they're not using it to sniff out your manly musk. And don't get me started on dental hygiene. If your teeth are hosting a plaque party, it's time to invest in a toothbrush and some floss. Breath that could knock out a rhino at 20 paces is not going to win you any points in the romance department. So, if you're wondering why girls are giving you a wide berth, take a good look in the mirror, and maybe a good sniff. If you're cultivating more cultures on your body than in a yogurt, you've got a problem. Next up, the gamer grasp. Love your video games more than life itself? Well, if your idea of romance is rescuing princesses in a virtual world, you might want to reconsider. Now, don't get me wrong, video games are great. They can be fun, engaging, and even a bonding experience. But if you're swapping candlelit dinners for Fortnite sessions, you might be crossing a line. See, it's all about balance. Playing video games is cool, but when your controller gets more attention than your significant other, it could be a game over for your love life. It's like having a pet tiger. Sure, it sounds cool, but when it starts eating your furniture, it's not so fun anymore. So if you're spending more time with Minecraft than with your partner, it might be time to hit the pause button. Remember, a relationship is a two-player game. If your idea of a hot date is a Call of Duty marathon, don't be surprised if she's not game. Now, let's talk about the conversation hog. Picture this, you're at a dinner, and there's this one guy. Let's call him Chad. Chad loves the sound of his voice more than a teenage boy loves his first car. He's talking so much, even the waitstaff knows his life story by the end of the night. Now don't get me wrong, it's great to share your experiences, but there's a fine line between being engaging and turning into a human radio station. Girls, like everyone else, appreciate a good listener. So guys, if you're ever in doubt about whether you're hogging the conversation, just remember the 3-to-1 rule. For every 3 sentences she says, you get 1. This way, you make sure she knows you're interested in her, not in listening to your own voice. Remember, it's a conversation, not a monologue. Last but not least, the narcissist. Ah, Narcissus, the Greek mythological figure who fell in love with his own reflection. He's not just a figure of ancient lore, he's alive and well and might be flexing in a mirror near you. Now there's nothing wrong with a little self-love, but there's a fine line between confidence and narcissism. Imagine this, you're on a date, and your guy spends more time checking himself out in every reflective surface than actually engaging with you. Is he admiring his reflection or preparing for a life as a human mirror ball? And then, there are those who've taken their self-love to another level. If you've met a guy who's named his biceps, run for the hills. Unless you're really into having a threesome with thunder and lightning. Remember ladies, confidence is sexy, self-obsession is not. If you've named your biceps and spend more time in front of the mirror than Snow White's stepmother, you might just love yourself a bit too much. So guys, if you're striking out in the love department, maybe check this list. It's no secret that love is a complex, multifaceted beast, more puzzling than a Rubik's Cube and as unpredictable as the stock market. But what if the answer to your dating woes could be as simple as following a few basic guidelines? You see, your quest for love doesn't have to resemble a wild goose chase. Sometimes it's just about being aware of the things that could be driving the ladies away. Let's do a quick recap, shall we? First off, we discussed hygiene. Remember, you are not a science project. Germs are not your friends, and your body is not a petri dish. If the only shower you're having is the one in Fortnite, it's time to rethink your priorities. Next, we shone a spotlight on the infamous gamer grasp. Video games are great. They're fun, they're engaging, but when your love for Call of Duty overshadows your ability to engage in a meaningful conversation, then we've got a problem. Remember, there's a world outside your gaming console, one that's filled with potential dates who would love to explore it with you. Then there's the conversation hog. If you're talking so much that you're leaving no room for anyone else to get a word in, then you're not having a conversation, you're delivering a soliloquy. And unless you're Shakespeare, that's not going to fly. Love is a dialogue, not a monologue. And let's not forget the narcissist, the guy who's more in love with his reflection than anything else. If your biceps have names and you're spending more time with your mirror than with actual people, you might need to reassess. After all, self-love is important, but there's a thin line between confidence and arrogance. Now don't get me wrong. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect. Far from it. It's about being human, being relatable, and being considerate. It's about understanding that the world doesn't revolve around you, and that love is a two-way street. So the next time you're wondering why the ladies aren't flocking to you, take a moment to reflect. Could it be your hygiene, your gaming habits, your conversation skills, or your narcissism? And remember, being likable isn't about being perfect. It's about not being a character from a sitcom.